Sure.
How's it going, everyone? I'm David from Comic Book Investments, and I have a guest here with me, and his name is John. Now, John is an aspiring comic book creator. So I'm having him on. We're going to talk everything. Comics, whatever, football. Who knows what we're going to talk about? We're just going to talk about everything. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself?
I will. Thank you for having me, David.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasure to finally meet you. We kind of had a bunch of back and forth emails. A little bit about myself. Where do I begin? I don't know. Where do I begin? Just introducing myself.
Well, why don't you tell me a bit about your background,
Yeah.
at least in comic books and everything.
Okay.
You have a comic book out.
I do.
You can talk about that. Talk about kind of like your origin story. Like, how did you get to this point?
I like that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I was born in New York, but when I landed in California, I got actually really into X-Men, the animated series, in terms of my comic book origin.
Okay, so you're talking about the 90s X-Men.
The 90s X-Men. Yeah. So, and then basically I became a paper boy to get any kind of little disposable
Did you
income.
ride a bike?
No. So I had Zetra 303 rollerblades and then Lightnings.
What is that?
Those are the original rollerblades that you could get. And I used to have a big front bat. It was like a sack that went all the way around your body.
I was a paper boy.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I had a bike though, but I take that sack and I put it on behind my bike.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Mondays were awesome because I had 250 papers and they were real small on a Monday.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm 10 years old and 30 pounds, so I had no business doing this. But Sundays were brutal because you had to put together and it was full like Santa Claus in the front and in the back, and you had to take them otherwise you'd fall over.
I had I attached to my bike. There's for little kids if you want to take them in the back. There's kind of a little wagon.
Yeah.
And so I took my newspapers for Sunday and I put them back there. They would show up unrolled, so I had to roll everything and put them in either bags or a rubber band beforehand.
Yeah.
And how long did you do it for?
2 years, and I delivered 250 papers a day, excuse me. And even looking back, I cannot believe I did it. Because it was up at 4 a.m. Like you said, they came zip tied, in a big bundle.
Yep.
And they'd throw them on your garage, and I'd go down there, and my parents would be like, stop making noise. And I'm popping them open, rubber banding. On a rainy day, you had to buy the bags.
Yes.
And talk about child labor law violations. I made $100 a month for, it had to be 2.5 hours of work every single day, no breaks, never a day off for 2 years. And even looking back, I'm man, you made $1, essentially $2 a day. But then the cool thing was I was dividing my time between arcades. I was playing Street Fighter and then Mortal Kombat. But then my big spends were at comic book. They weren't, I don't know if you would call them conventions. They were at our local mall. So the Fashion Fair Mall in Fresno. They just have a bunch of people lined up.
We have those in Carlsbad.
Yeah, so I would go down there and the first box that I just fell in love with was Marvel Masterpiece, 1992. And
Cards?
The cards, not the comic books.
The cards.
Yeah. So that was my first kind of I'm addicted to collecting stuff. And I did buy comic books too at that time, but as a kid I actually struggled to read. So I would buy Max #1 or Cable #1 or whatever, or Turok, and I'd put it away. So those comics, unless my parents tossed them, those still exist in my parents' house somewhere, but they were unread because I genuinely just struggled to read. So a lot of it was what did the cover look like? Did I like the character from either the animated series or Justice League Unlimited or whatever it was? I was watching all those. And then I was all in on the cards. So even to this day, I have, they might be bricked nowadays because they were laminated, if you knew, those.
Oh, stuck together?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
the
I'm
humidity and stuff like that.
I'm terrified to actually go and look at them because I'm these are worth something now. And then if I'm going to go home and they're all going to be stuck together. And,
yeah, that could happen.
Yeah. So, it was 2 years of going basically. I don't think it was every week, but maybe every other week they had they had baseball cards there and other stuff, but I was getting the Marvel Masterpiece or the DC cards and stuff, and I was collecting that. So that was my comic book, the origin of comics and stuff. transitioning to where I am now. I went to UCLA. I actually played. I was an athlete there.
Where'd you play?
I played baseball.
Baseball? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So center fielder. Actually, the last podcast I was on, they actually like did research and they were asking me all the crazy questions about it. And that was fun. Like there's some fun stories there, like Jose Canseco showing up, like Barry Bonds showing up, Charlie Sheen showing up.
Oh,
like
Charlie Sheen. I was just watching his documentary.
yeah. So like it is like fortuitous. Like I think I saw a clip of him on like Joe Rogan like like 2 days ago.
Yeah, he was just on it. He's like pumping he has a book and a documentary and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, but like Major League was like my generation. Like that was my like you know like baseball movie like that and like Bull Durham and you know like the Natural or something like that. So
I think the one I remember the most is Field of Dreams.
Yeah, Field of Dreams is pretty.
It's the 80s though, but
that's a tearjerker too.
Yeah,
that'll get you every single time.
Kevin Costner, I believe.
Yeah, Kevin Costner. Yeah.
So did you like have any aspirations of going pro? Because I had a friend who he got a full ride to Washington State and for football, but he had no aspirations of going pro. He just wanted to use it to get like free schooling type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely transparent, I thought that's probably what I was going to do.
But go pro or
play kind of professionally at least for a little bit. I like hit puberty super late, so I actually just went to UCLA for academics, and then I think this is still technically correct. There's a term called like a walk-on, but then there's something called like a true walk-on where you're literally just a student at the school and you try out for the team and make it, where you're not like invited to be on the team and then you walk on. So I was just a true walk-on. So my first year at UCLA, I was like 5'7", like 115 pounds, and all of a sudden I finally hit puberty. I was like, oh, this is what it means to actually grow up.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in college, wonderful. This is so awesome. So the story is kind of like a little backwards. I started like training with a track guy that was on the Olympic track team.
Okay.
And I'd go like I think it's Drake Stadium is their track at UCLA. So I used to just like sprint with him, and I like filled out crazy UCLA dorm food and stuff. And it was through like working out with the Dodgers and stuff. And then it's kind of a long story, but I ended up getting on the team, and I had some real skill, but I ended up dislocating my shoulder like on the second day of like practice at UCLA. And it was like 6 shoulder surgeries after that, elbow surgery, both my hips, ankle was the last one where it was like, you're never going to play sports again. Time to transition to life.
Yeah. Well, you know who else was an aspiring baseball player that
I think I know. Yep.
That hurt his leg, his ankle, and then became one of the most well-known comic book artists of all time.
Yes.
Todd McFarlane.
I was going to say Mr. McFarlane.
Yeah. He's from Washington State. He was doing like these circuits. He was ready to go pro, that kind of thing. And, yeah. So I guess it can happen.
Yeah.
But where's the story of the aspiring comic book artist that failed and then became a professional athlete?
There you go. I guess you'd have to fail at comics really early, like in your life.
So I was doing a video that will come out a little later, but Mark Bagley, who famously did like Carnage and stuff, 90s Spider-Man, like later 90s. He tried to get into comic books for a decade, and he finally just gave up. And he was working at Lockheed Martin doing technical drawings, and his friend was like, oh, Marvel has this book from 1983, I think it was. It's like the official guide to Marvel tryout. And so you get the book, and then you can send away to get to try out to be on the Marvel drawing thing. And he won first place. Wow. But it took him 4 years from the time he won to the time he actually got his first job at Marvel. And, then he just became a very, very famous artist after that. Yeah. So
I actually heard about that competition. That would be, I wish something, maybe it does exist now. I don't have any clue about any knowledge of it.
I think now with social media, it's like, it's probably easier to reach people and get started. And it's so much easier for young creators to make a book and get it out there. Yeah. Before you're kind of beholden to, okay, I made this comic book. What do I do with it? Right. Okay, you have to go to one of the major publishers, maybe some smaller publishers, and they will, because it's all about distribution. Yeah. And distribution, because I'm in the music industry, it's the exact same thing, is back then was key. And these few companies had the distribution channels that you
Yeah.
could put into, all these different comic shops, or if it's a music
Yeah.
shop. So that was key. But now distribution's like online, so anyone can do it.
Yeah. It's more just, do you have the funds to kind of execute stuff? You can do a
Yeah.
lot of stuff online, like for almost nothing, but the actual printing of books is
Yeah.
expensive, and getting it out there can be. Shipping stuff is like sometimes more expensive. Actually, every time more expensive than actually.
So tell me
printing the book.
about your book and all that, because I want to go in. I love getting into numbers. So
Yeah.
So first, tell me about your book.
Yeah.
Is this your first book you've ever created?
Yeah. Well, produced, like it's done. It's completely like on the counter over there. I have a test printing of the 124-page graphic novel. So, the origin of I've been writing for a long time. I've been writing. I mean, where it's been like my career focus, like 15 years. And then
You've been writing for 15 years.
Yeah.
As a career.
So I'm a screenwriting professor
Okay.
at a top 5, actually the #1 screenwriting program.
Okay.
And that's what on a daily basis, that's what I'm doing. Like,
Okay.
I mostly teach like either like our most difficult class or our thesis class. So I'm helping kids create their feature film, like writing sample that they
Have
take
you ever
out.
written a screenplay that's gotten anywhere in Hollywood?
Yeah, I've written 25 screenplays.
Okay.
So it's there's a lot of writing.
Mm-hmm.
I would term it like production hell, where like the level that I've gotten my scripts to, and my scripts have been bumped by projects that you would know about. Just because like, the studio itself went another direction because it was way more marketable or easy to, or big names were attached to other things.
And a lot of times in like Hollywood, they'll option, say, a comic book.
Yep.
And then they'll have someone write the screenplay, and then that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like Sixth Gun, I think is the comic is called. It went all the way to making the first episode,
Yeah.
and then they canned it, so it never even got aired.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, it's funny, back in the comic boom when everything was going sky high, like every single comic was getting optioned.
Yeah.
And I try to explain to people, I'm like, that doesn't mean it's going to get made. To
Yeah.
get made is like, okay, great, you're in step 1 of like 100.
Yeah. So here's an interesting like tangent on that. So when I was in grad school, I was like heading off to my first like internship, and I was doing well in the program, and I got a call from like our department chair, and she was like, "What are you doing for an internship this semester?" And I was like, I got this boutique management company. I'm actually going there tomorrow. I'm not really stoked about it." And they're like, "You're gonna go work for Jeremy Renner at the Combine." I was like, "That's way better."
Hawkeye?
Hawkeye. So I worked there. I actually helped them.
He's also a musician too.
Yeah. He's so there's an interesting qualifier to this. I actually never met him, even though I was there for like a year. And the reason was they were shooting Avengers. So he was like laying low. Like one time we threw him a birthday party, and like we literally waited there until like 1 a.m. for him to come. And he just kept calling like, "I'm on my way. I'm on my way." I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to finally meet him. I'm going to finally meet him." And then he just like never showed up. So I'm sure he's people are very, very busy.
Yeah.
But part of the transition of why I actually got that, they got wind of the fact, this is how long I've been working on my book, that I had the first like 30 pages of my book done back then. Mm-hmm. And like part of like my interview for that was they asked me if I could teach them how to do comic books. And I helped them produce their first two comics, The Rift and The Source. Mm-hmm. But I was there at the Combine, Jeremy Renner's production company for a while. And the reason why I brought this up was like they had a huge slate, and we would just option, like we would try to find, like the first question was like, is it optioned? And then we would like make phone calls to find out who had the rights to stuff.
So basically you'd look through all these comics. You'd find ones that you maybe have a list that you loved.
Yeah.
And then your first question is it optioned? And then yes, no, yes, go through that list.
Pretty much. So they were making their own comics. So we weren't necessarily, there might've been 1 or 2 that we were optioning. The Don Hanfield went on to work for Scout, and they were doing stuff. So maybe, I don't have the information on that, but, we were optioning, like one of the things that I remember was American Sniper was coming out at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the real like #1 American Sniper was Carlos Hathcock. And so then we went through CAA and WME to see if the rights for that book were available. It was kind of stuff like that. So we would get like rights to books and other things like that.
Okay, so you would get the rights and then option it for like what is the rights What are you optioned for? Like, how much do you have to pay usually? What is like,
It can be all over the map. So like, let's
tens of thousands, maybe hundreds?
could be the hundreds of thousands. Definitely a possibility. Nothing that I was dealing with.
You probably have to have like a big name or like a big story that's probably well known. Right?
Yeah. But so here's the like qualifier there. Most of those things are already gone. Like before, like especially nowadays, probably like 15, 20 years ago, there was big entities that didn't exist, and then they would get optioned. Like you just probably look back at like Hunger Games or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like now, like even like some self-published like graphic novel or novel. It's probably more novels, to be honest. They might be optioned like for like $1,000 like already, or like $2,000.
So would companies option these as quick as possible? Kind of like if you were scouting and you scouted a high schooler versus a college person, just so you can get in the door and you can get it cheap, and then you can have it, because the return on your investment, if it does turn into something and you do make a movie, it's like, oh, I optioned this for $5,000. The movie ends up going, it's $100 million movie.
Could be that.
Is that like the risk reward there?
It could be. So the in terms of Hollywood, like there's tiers to it, and it's like if you're on the periphery, there's probably people doing that and trying to option. So my first post grad like meeting was on the Paramount lot, and I remember I was totally naive. I would just say completely naive. So I took this meeting and I went onto the lot, and I was there and I was like, oh man, like I'm on the lot. Like the lot, a studio lot will like rent out space to like random producers that are like, you know, like just trying, like, I'm a producer in Hollywood. It's like, okay, what do you do? I'm a producer in Hollywood. It's like, okay, what do you do? It's like, I'm a producer in Hollywood. It's like, dude, okay, yes, I get it. You drive Uber. Like, it's fine. I'm not, and there are producers that do tons and tons and tons of work and are absolutely amazing. But I sat down with this guy and we had like lunch, and he tried to like option all of my screenplays for $1. Like, and at that point I had a pretty big like portfolio. I had.
What is the reasoning for that?
So like, this is probably somebody that's on the periphery. So we're giving an example of that. Like, they then have their little networks and ins that they can get to, and then they'll basically, you've done all the legwork, you've written the scripts for them, so now they can like shop it, and if they'll just throw a bunch of shit out the wall, and it's like, hey, I got into, you know, so and so, like I somehow managed to get a meeting with like Jason Blum at Blumhouse, and it's like, I have like these 5 horror scripts from this young writer. So is
an option almost the right to shop it? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So you control it.
Okay, so if he bought it for $1 and he shopped one of your scripts and it gets picked up, then you guys have like a split of 50-50 or whatever the split is, and so then you get paid even more.
Yeah. So first off, they wouldn't buy it. That's the point of an option. You own it for a period of time. So an optioning agreement could be 12 months, it could be 18 months, it could be 36 months. I think he wanted 36, which is an insane actual option length. You generally don't want to commit your stuff to somebody for that long.
And is it exclusive?
Yeah. So it's like
it's exclusive rights.
It's in essence, they don't own it in perpetuity, but they own it for that time period.
So I do the same thing with sync licensing with my songs.
Okay.
So I'll have a sync licensing manager or something like that, or a company, and they come up and they will. I've learned the hard way: do not do exclusive because you get screwed. You end up getting screwed because they keep it for so long and you can't do anything with it. So everything after I got screwed over pretty badly with one of my albums, I now do non-exclusive only.
Yeah.
Because it really is, it screws you because you can't do anything with the music. You're stuck. You're basically handcuffed. And if those person just like sits on it, well, great. Now I have the songs. I spent all this money and time, and I can't do anything with it.
Totally.
So I always do non-exclusive, unless they pay you a ton of money.
Yeah, yeah. I was joking the other day, like, what's the number? Yeah. I mean, to be honest, now where I'm at in my career, like it wouldn't be about the number. It would be about the situation that my book would be going into, or even my screenplays. Because to be honest, like I would rather it go to the right place and have it been produced the right way than just like the early career where I would be like, oh, I got something optioned. Like now it's like you can quickly option your stuff with the wrong people or get it stuck with somebody and you're screwed. And also, like, I got this advice from a buddy of mine named Andrew Baldwin. He wrote like some of the like Jason Bourne movies, and he does some Apple TV shows and stuff. Super awesome human being, just an absolutely amazing person. But he's like, when you kind of like go down that road, then you're kind of in that lane, like because the stuff you're producing is now in that kind of like. It's like, what are your aspirations for what you want your career to be? Like, so it's almost better off to avoid those situations if you can afford to. Like if you're, I don't begrudge anyone if you got to put food on the table and you got to, option something for $500 or $2,000 or whatever. But if you can afford to kind of get it to the right spot, it's better to go that way than to put yourself in a position where writing a screenplay or this graphic novel has taken a decade and like 4.5 years of art for the 124 pages of art. It took just 4.5 years. The financial, like out of pocket for me, I self-financed it entirely, is years of pay, like years of pay. So it's like, if someone came along right now and we're like, I've actually had this already happen. So maybe it is a little relevant to our conversation where it's like, hey, let's do something together. It's like easy. Like it's okay. I'm not in any rush to.
Yeah, money is like, it's interesting. It's like you get to a point in your life, and it might not even be like a financial point where it's like, oh, I have X amount in the bank or something like that. But you get to a point with money where your relationship changes, where you realize that the time and the effort you put into a passion project is money is not your goal. Like your goal, whatever it is, for example, is my music. It's like money is not my goal. My goal is to get it out to as many people as possible. So if I had to take a deal where I got it out to as many people as possible, but I got very little money for it, I would take that deal all the time versus having a big payday with like the chance that it could go to more people.
Yeah, I basically 100% agree with you. I think I would like semantics. I would kind of say maybe not to get it out. I would want to entertain as many people as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I just want to make people happy.
Get it in the hands of like people that truly appreciate it.
Exactly. It's like with this Kickstarter or this book, like the communities that I'm in, the early reviews of the book have been like amazing, and I'm like, it's already kind of worth it, even though it's only kind of just reaching a little small threshold of
Honestly, sometimes like with like my music and stuff, it's like I had this. I had a person reach out on Instagram, and it was this girl, and she said, me and my boyfriend met like 6 months ago, and we bonded through your music. And she was in Italy. Yeah. And I was like, what? Like it was so cool. It was so crazy. Yeah. And she's like, I was hoping like maybe you could make a video and say happy birthday or something like that. And I was like, I'll do you one better. So I wrote a song and then played it for him. No way. And I was like, a happy birthday. I think it was happy birthday in Italian or something. So I had to learn Italian and learn how to say it. It was the thing. But I was just so happy. And I've had a couple of experiences similar to that. But I'll always remember that. And it's just like, that was like, I'm not very big at all. But it's like those little things are the things that make me like happy to keep doing it. Even 100%. Though it's like, it's so like, it's just a random person in Italy who will never go to one of your shows or anything like that. But it's just, and my music's free, so they didn't technically didn't pay anything. But those are the kind of moments that like make it worth it. So, like you're saying, with like even though you had, your Kickstarters maybe a small or something like that, the reviews that you have are worth way more.
Yeah, exactly. If like the transition from this is maybe full circle to how we were talking about college career and athletics and stuff. I had a business economics degree, so I ended up going into like a corporate job, and I was working in San Francisco, and I couldn't see myself doing that for like the rest of my life. Yeah. And I was stuck in bed post-op, and that's when I wrote my first screenplay. But the catalyst for the transition was actually, and here's the full circle. I was at the thing I missed most about playing sports wasn't actually necessarily the sports itself, or I did enjoy all that stuff, but it was being able to entertain people. Like, and I told this story on a podcast the other day, but this was like one of the best examples of it. There used to be a batting cage on the 405. If you don't live in Southern California, it's a nightmare freeway that just sucks. But it was actually like butted right up against the freeway, and you used to be able, like, if you hit it right in the corner of the batting cage, you actually hit it onto the 405. Oh, probably weird. Why it's not there anymore.
Oh, that makes sense.
But I would come down to take like batting practice like randomly in the middle of the day sometimes, and I knew the owner, so he would like crank it up to whatever the max was for the batting cage. So it's humming at you, and and it was like 12 o'clock noon, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday or something. And a car pulls up, and a little 4-year-old kid with like a helmet that doesn't fit, that's like falling over his head, and a bat he couldn't hold, like sprinted over to the batting cage. He's like flopping around. It's so awesome. And his dad gets out of the car with like a suit on. You know, he's just on his lunch break, just wanted to spend an hour with his son.
Yeah.
Like just to like have a good time or whatever it was, or maybe he took a half day. I don't know. But the kid ran over and he's like, Dad, that's the angel from the game last night. I'm not an angel. I was just, there, taking batting practice. And the kid was just beaming and euphoric that he got to be with his dad. It wasn't about like what I was doing or hitting or anything like that. And I just remember like I just kept hitting, but I turned around and the kid was just like, look, he wanted his dad to see like the angel. And his dad was smiling and he was just looking at his son. It wasn't anything of it like my name or anything like that or what I was doing. It was like, that was really cool. Like I got to bring a father and son together and they were just having a great time and he was loving that his son was happy. And then, so when the career ended, those are the moments. There's a bunch of those, but those are the moments that I missed the most. And I was like, if I can, get into writing and maybe be in a movie theater one day and like literally turn around to watch the audience and see a family together and be like, man, life is, people have jobs and work really hard. And, for 2 hours on a weekend, they took their family to see a movie and they're happy and they're together. And I could be a contributing part of that. I applied to film school. And when I got into the good programs and stuff, I kind of made that decision to go after it. And then to continue all the way to the book, it's like, this was originally written as a graphic novel, by the way, and it wasn't like something else. I wanted to write a graphic novel. So,
but you're basically a creator, because that's what like people don't realize is creators want to create stuff for other people.
Exactly.
Like there are some people that create just for themselves, but they like a true creator wants to create stuff and they want to show it to the world and they want people to bond over it, have an emotional connection over it.
Absolutely.
And money is usually always secondary. Sure, there's always those people that are, I'm always in it for the money.
Yeah.
But if you ask any creator, big or small, like think about this. Todd McFarlane, when I went to Comic-Con this past one, he was sitting around, he's eating a cookie, he had his little like assistant around. And I was like, man, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah,
he probably has
exactly.
to do a panel. People are approaching him all day long. He just wants to sit and eat his cookie.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, I'm a big fan or whatever like that. And he's like, yeah, awesome. I was like, do you think I could take a picture? He's like, sure. Now he could have had his assistant say like, no pictures. And the assistant's the bad guy, so he's not the bad guy. But here he is, taking his time. All day long, people coming up to him. He does conventions probably all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably busy. And he's like, here's a moment where I can sit and eat my food.
Yeah.
And, now another person's bothering me. But he enjoyed it. He generally enjoyed it. He was so happy and all this kind of stuff. And he's answering other people's questions when he didn't really have to. Because generally, it's like, yeah, he has probably all the money that anyone could ever want.
Yeah.
And all the fame and everything like that. But he still generally enjoys it. He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do this stuff at all. He could literally... sit on a beach somewhere if you wanted to. But, I watched this, it was like this billionaire who, I can't remember, he works for Oculus, I think. And he said, and someone asked him questions like, you already have like $1 billion. Why don't you sit on a beach somewhere and just like, why don't all these billionaires just sit in it? And he's like, the thing that makes you a billionaire is not the type of person that will be sitting on a beach once they achieve whatever that amount of money is.
Right.
It's the fact that they're so passionate about whatever it is that they'll continue to do it, and money is always just secondary.
Yeah.
Some people get it, some people do.
Yeah.
So, as a creator, this is what you like to do. So just getting in the hands of people you like, money is usually just secondary.
Yeah.
In that thing.
Well, there's so much to unpack, and I agree with like everything you just said. It's like, even like think about it, if you made $1 billion and you're somebody that just loves playing video games all day, like when you made the $1 billion, you'd still play video games all day. So so it just happens to be that person's pursuit of like creating Oculus or building companies is like their version of a video game.
Yeah.
So it's not about the money.
Yeah. With
Todd or Mr. McFarlane, whatever, like the interaction with fans is like, that's I would say, first off, writing is very like solitary. You're alone in a room and people think it's like this. It's like, no, it's the complete opposite of what you think. It's like you're at a desk, your eyes are burning because you've been looking at a screen all day. It's like the reason
worst is having writer's block. And then you're like, okay, where do I write here? And then like an hour goes by and you have nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I have a good routine on that. So I'm fortunate enough where I live, I'm pretty close to the coast. And I'm like, I'm going to walk to the beach like right now, and I'll just get outside and go walk to the beach and I'll just sit there. and just like look out at the coast, and like that's the reset to try to break that writer's block, or like even just the monotony of being at your desk for 3 or 4 hours.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
I bet this is true. I mean, I write songs and lyrics and stuff like that, so I imagine for a writer it's true. I bet on your phone, either in notes or
Too late. I already know the answer.
Or voice memos or whatever,
yes.
you have a million and one different ideas or little things or something you're working on. You're, oh, that character should do this, and you're like driving on the 405 in traffic.
Okay, so yeah, 100%. Like in my class, the first thing I talk about is exactly this. I said I have a Google Doc on my phone that's like 50 or 60 pages at this point with ideas, or sometimes it's just literally like a word. Sometimes it's like a log line. Sometimes it's an idea to explore. Sometimes it's a full like story outline, because I'll just get in the groove and I'll be writing on my phone. But yeah, you need that. Like anybody that's aspiring creative in any field, like have somewhere to put stuff down, because you won't remember it. Like,
yeah, and you don't know when inspiration is going to come.
Exactly.
And we live in a great day, because if this was a long time ago, you'd have to either have like a notepad with you to scroll everything down. Now you just have a phone.
Exactly.
You can voice record everything. Like, oh, I have this idea, whatever.
Totally. Like even I have the worst time sleeping, but I'll wake up and I'll have like an idea and I'll like grab my phone and put it down, because I know the next day I won't remember it, or like it'll be a fleeting thing of like, oh, what was that? So it's like you always have to have access to put that stuff down.
So there's well, first of all, there's Jack Black did a song, the greatest song in the world or something like that, where he couldn't remember it. They played it one time, and then but this is the tribute to the greatest song, because they couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
But I remember this one time. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I had a dream about this song. Like, I was on stage singing the song. It's like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. So I'm like half asleep, and I sing the song, you know, like with the lyrics and the melody, and then I go back to sleep. And then I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I had that good time. I listen to it. I'm like, oh, this is trash. What was I thinking?
There's a lot of that. So, like, that's the thing, though. Like, when you're, like, panning for gold, like 99% of it is like dirt, right?
Yes.
So you gotta stand there and sift, and it's like, even in that document that I have, one of the favorite parts is like I'll write written next to the idea. So there's like 25 30 things at this point in that document where I've actually finished them.
Oh,
like,
that's interesting.
Nothing's ever finished, by the way, until it's literally like in somebody's hands. So
But even then it's not finished.
Even then it's not finished, exactly. So it's like I just write written by it, and it's like very satisfying. But a lot of the times the ideas are so thin or underdeveloped, or the dirt, that I like merge them all together, and you kind of create this thing that actually works, using like 5 or 6 different ideas to create like story depth and dynamic movement and stuff like that. So like you absolutely need that stuff. You need to sift through the mud, get through the bad ideas to get to the good ones. David Lindelof came and spoke at LMU when I was in grad school. And this ranged so true, but he said like, I didn't know I was a bad writer until I had written like 10 screenplays. And it was literally going through that process of grinding through. That's a lot of work. If your audience, that's a lot of writing. But like the realization is like, you got to get through a lot of stuff sometimes to actually find the good stuff. Like, it's not always like, I see this with a lot of my students and young writers. It's like, the idea of like watching the Oscars, or like going into a con and you see like somebody at a desk, like you don't see all the work they did before that point. You just kind of see
the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the underneath. What's underneath?
What a perfect analogy. Yeah, like you didn't see everything they did to get there, and like all the bad, or the learning curves, or some people get profoundly lucky, and that's awesome. Kudos to them, or they have all the right connections, or whatever it may be.
Or they're just born with some God-given talent.
Totally. Yeah. So like those people exist, but more often than not, for most of us, you gotta really do a lot of work. It's like watching somebody give like an Oscar speech or something like that. It's like they worked on that for like a decade.
Yeah.
It's like, do you really want to work on something for a decade for that like one afternoon of like elation?
And a lot of people don't look at it like that, but it's like, yeah, you're going to be putting in decades and decades, and at the end, you might get nothing.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest thing is, at least I found in like music, is when you're creating something, you only know like your perspective, and you can create something that's so great that you love.
Right.
Like maybe a screenplay or something like that. And then you pass it off to the world, and it connects with no one.
Exactly.
You don't know. Like that's the hard part. It's like, it's that trial and error of like, okay, I put this out. No one likes it. Okay, I'm going to redo a new screenplay or redo a song, put it out there. Okay, a couple people like it. Okay, and then you just do it back and forth, and then eventually you get this thing where all of a sudden it's like, hey, this one thing I did really resonates.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes the band's favorite song is not their hit song, and the song they like the least is the hit song, because
it's
you
probably
don't know.
Most of the time with musicians, it's like that was the one, the afterthought, and that's like the
we weren't going to put it on the album.
Yeah, it's like the number one song in the U.S. or something.
Yeah.
But to touch on your point, I was talking to somebody who read the digital copy of the book the other day. And I was like,
we have to talk about your book first.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah. But
at the end of the podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm here because I wrote a graphic novel. But what I said to him was like, as a creator, we all put our visions out there, and we have our belief and perspective on what we're trying to say to someone. Mm-hmm. But it was awesome. The review that they gave back was exactly what I was trying to accomplish. And I was like, I was just explaining to him, I was like, it's such a relief that actually what I was trying to do and what I was doing with the character specifically that I was talking about was like exactly the way he received it. And it was like, okay, we're on the right track here. Like we're doing at least something right here where we're what I perceive it at, like perception's everything, right?
Yeah.
Like two people can look at a Mona Lisa and be like, you take like a 14-year-old, they're like, why is that like woman angry? And then you take like a 70-year-old like art history major, and they're like, look at the strokes and like the art, and like this paint was like dug up in like from like a wine vine and like this 17 whatever.
Yeah.
They know every nuanced detail of it, but they're looking at the same thing and they have totally different. So perspective is everything.
Yeah.
And often creators' perspective is like, we're making the greatest thing ever, but when in reality maybe we're not.
Yeah.
We're aiming
Most
for that.
likely not.
We're aiming for that for sure. But I think if you approach it with the genuine like approach that we're talking about, like to just make people happy or entertain people, like at the end of the day you'll get there. Like it'll work itself out, in my opinion, like, or my hope, let's put it that way, maybe not opinion thing.
So let's talk about your book.
I
think we built it up for the last half hour. So let's so tell us about your book. Tell us everything.
So it's a big the universe itself is called Avalon, and it's a big sci-fi kind of the origin of this is actually like the process of creating this was me questioning.
What's the name of the book first?
Eric. So the book itself is about a father trying to save the first sick son in like 100 years, and humanity's kind of fallen into the trap of like forgetting the past. So there's no doctors, there's no one to actually take care of his son. So it's basically the burden, he shoulders the burden to try to save his son. To go back to the kind of like the universe aspect of it, there's two divergent groups of human beings. This is big sci-fi, if I didn't say sci-fi. Human beings, Gaddics, which are kind of 9 feet tall, 500 pounds, like what they would call like perfect human beings. They've modified their DNA to become these flawless humans. That would be their perspective.
Kryptonians.
Yeah. So the review the other day that I just mentioned, they were like, Buddhist is the name of the villain. They're like, is Zod an inspiration? And I was like, that's pretty good comp. Like that's yes, pretty close. So, but in the backstory, the history of the universe, like as human beings started to meddle with DNA, half of humanity basically said like, we're not messing with any of that. You do your own thing.
Similar to the Amish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another great analogy. Thank you. Just keep dropping them in. It's perfect. Thank you. But as like technology progressed, they got larger and bigger, and they could do more with their DNA and stuff. But viruses and diseases evolved with them, and eventually they decimated the unengineered half of society. So in a desperate attempt to kind of save humanity, Owen and Cretan, these are kind of backstory characters, created microscopic white blood cell replacement therapy, which is known as nanodytes. So it's like tiny microscopic machines that actually go into your they inject them into you. And
I'll have that in about 50 years.
So that's the origin of this. Like when I was having surgeries back in like 2000, I said, I don't think medicine will exist in like 100 years. I think it'll be
different, very different.
Yeah, it'll be like small machines that'll just go in, and if you have whatever it is, it's just going to literally attack it and eat it. Like a tumor will just go in and just literally eat it away.
I 100% agree. I think that will happen. When it will happen, that's debatable, and we can debate all day long about that, but 100% that's going to happen.
So so that like even 20 years ago, that's what I thought, and that was the origin of nanodytes. So we have Gaddics and nanodytes in this future, and if you see like the trailer for the book, it says like when people see their differences, dividing lines are drawn, and war is an inevitability. So these two sides have been at war for a long period of time now. When nanodytes first came into being, they tried to put nanodytes into Gaddics, and because their DNA is almost non-human, the nanodytes killed them. So like laws were passed that you couldn't merge the technologies together. So that's where, if we come to the entry point of the story, where Eric is the lead nanodite research scientist, combining technologies is considered treason and punishable by death. So that kind of leads to kind of the narrative of like Eric's journey to saving his son and the charges of treason that he's facing, and like what the obstacles that he has to face in this world. But it's definitely a hero's journey, kind of a classic story about a father doing everything imaginable to save his son. And a lot of the time here, I just kind of talk about the world now because I don't want to spoil the story too much. But I am like a big sci-fi nerd, so I try to make all the science as plausible and realistic as possible.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's like I kind of take a lot of... So we've terraformed all the terrestrial planets in our solar system, so...
Like Mars and stuff
so
like that.
Mars we've pulled in closer to Earth, and then Venus and Mercury we've pulled out. And this is like hypothetically plausible, but so we have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, like Kuiper Belt, and then Jupiter. If you take Kuiper Belt objects and you like you orbit them in a figure 8 pattern around Jupiter, using Jupiter as an anchor, you can speed up or slow down the orbit of basically anything. So you can speed up the orbit of Venus, which will actually hurtle it further out into the Goldilocks zone, or for Mars, we would slow it down, and which brought it down back to Earth.
Is this actually true? Could you do this in real
life? It would
life?
take like millions of years, but like, so there's cheats in the story that explain it away that we could do it in like 10 years.
I'm sure you did some research on this, because I have no idea if that's even possible.
So the funniest thing about this was I thought of this a long time ago, and I put it on a Reddit thread, and like 1800, like I don't know if they were like NASA people or what, they chimed in and they're like, this is actually, you could do this, like hypothetically this is possible. The other part of it is like you know, everyone's saying even 20 years ago, like, when will we put somebody on Mars and when will we go to Mars? And yes, we can't go to Venus. It's an impossibility to go to Venus because of the today because of the pressure and like the heat, and you would just die immediately. Like, there's nothing landing on Venus. But in terms of like actual human beings, we evolved in 1G, right? So that's how our heart pumps. That's like when we're in utero, like when we're growing, all those things, like we've evolved in one unit of gravity, 1G. If we go to Mars, like we're in trouble, like long term, like we're going to have all kinds of issues, like medical issues. So Venus is actually 99% the size of Earth. It's basically our sister planet. So in the book, you'll see the steps that Cretan and Owen take to actually terraform Venus instead of Mars. Mars is also terraformed in the book, but we take an ice moon of Jupiter called Europa, which has more water ice on it than the water on Earth. And Europa actually happens to be the same exact size as our moon. So we have Venus that's 99% the size of Earth, with Europa that has the same amount of water on it than Earth, but Venus is a dry planet. So we take the Kuiper Belt objects, we move them down to Venus, we orbit it elliptically around Venus, and by orbiting it elliptically, as Europa comes in close to Venus, it stretches and squeezes the planet, which liquefies the iron core, which creates a magnetic field for the planet. And because gravity is gravity, as Europa is coming close to Venus, it pulls all the water off Europa, and then they move it back out to be an identical clone to our moon. So Venus becomes...
Very interesting. This is very sci-fi. Yeah. I like it. It's very, very interesting.
So then Venus actually becomes like a second Earth, and it's beautiful and lush, and then Earth is actually freezing over in the planet. So the war that they're fighting is actually for territory on Venus. So Eric led that initial like kind of D-Day invasion of Venus because the Gaddics have had control of the planet. But again, that's like backstory on this book. So that's all stuff. But yeah, everything in the like the hopefully the terraforming, all kind of the science actually works out. Like even in terms of like war and weaponry, it's usually like weapon countermeasure, and you see that in the book. So like since Gaddics have like bulletproof skin and nanodites can heal through everything, like all the weapons are CME based, coronal mass ejection, so like plasma weapons that will burn through you. So like if you've ever seen like a solar flare from the sun, that's like what their weapons look like. So they have like CME blades, which are like they actually look like a square, and they can flick them open, but it's like otherwise a dull like sword that you could run your hand on. but when it contacts, it actually like ejects like a solar flare. So
Interesting.
like I've had somebody actually like read the book and they're like, your artist messed up there's a sword, like they use a CME in the like 5th page of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, the it looks backwards. I'm like, no, that's the plasma jet coming out of the weapon to cut through their skin because it's so hard.
So when you were working with this artist,
Yeah.
was it like a lot of technical stuff you had to tell them? And they're like, okay,
man.
drop, because artists has their interpretation.
Yeah.
There you can go different routes where it's like, this is exactly how I want it, or kind of do your thing.
Yeah. So here's where the departure from like the conventional comic book community, like writers right now are going to be like, oh, I hate this guy. So I didn't actually write my script like in a conventional script form. So I needed to see what it looked like on a page. So I actually took an Excel spreadsheet, and I have a 130-page Excel spreadsheet with 6 panels in it. And I went through and I put all of the story into that, and I would combine panels and stuff so that I could see it on the page.
So each page was X amount of Excel little, tabs or whatever.
Exactly. And like you would click into it and you could read everything that was written, because I needed to be able to see like where the panels were, because I just didn't have that. I needed to see for me. But in addition to that, I put together an entire PowerPoint slide with every panel had like reference images. So like I'm sure my artist.
Wow, you had reference. So you said how many? 124 pages.
The good news is like once you're kind of in the flow, like a lot of this like sets and scenes and stuff are similar. So I didn't have to do those images like over and over again. So, but I would reference back, like go back, like if we were in chapter 4, we would be back like at Eric's house or something. I'd be like reference, the concept art from here. So everything, so you can create the.
How'd you get the concept art? Was this Google Images?
Yeah, Google. Like I'm talking like an actual picture of a solar flare. So then I would take like. This is embarrassing, but one day maybe I'll show it or something. But I'm the worst artist on earth. So I like drew with like a pencil and then like put a solar flare on it. And it looks so bad. I was like, oh God, my artist is awesome. His name's David Ward. And I was like, please don't judge me. That's why you're the professional. Yeah. Just like, let's see what we got going here. And maybe we'll get to something really cool.
Yeah.
And luckily like he's super collaborative and like receptive, which anything is a collaboration, right? So yeah. Working with David's been great. He'll shoot me ideas and say like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm like, perfect. Let's go with that. That's exactly what it should look like. And sometimes, he comes up with stuff that I didn't envision perfectly, but I was like, yeah. In terms of like the sequential art, that's like perfect. That's
so you said this project's taking you 10 years.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like a lot of these ideas probably existed in other works through maybe other screenplays, like maybe usually.
This particular book, I would say, has existed in its own universe for a very long time.
Okay.
And it actually was originally written as a graphic novel.
Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't a screenplay, but yeah, like in terms of like sci-fi elements that kind of exist in a lot of my work, there's definitely overlay. Like there's definitely overlap. Like there's the questions I have, and like have you ever heard of the gentleman named Professor Michio Kaku? He's like one of the smartest men on earth for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you've probably seen him
on Joe Rogan a bunch.
He's been on Joe Rogan.
Like string theory and
bingo
and some other some other stuff. Yeah, I know who he is.
But like even going back to my childhood, like listening to Carl Sagan or Professor Brian Cox, who I think is probably my favorite. Like I go to his like physics like speeches when
I've listened to Brian Cox and it's hard to get through because I'm like I feel so stupid when I'm listening to that. I'm like
I think if you embrace that and just be like, okay, there's people that are smarter than me and you happen to be one that's way smarter than me and just listen. My brain breaks when he says the word infinity because I just like the human brain can't calculate that. Yeah. But to bring it back to
also exponential growth is really hard for the human brain to calculate. So
that's
another one.
So like to circle back to like Michio Kaku and like the science stuff and why I'm always like I think I pose questions and explore them then through story. Like how would this be a cool story element? So like Michio Kaku, one of the things he says, he talks about like he made like a collider as a kid and like knocked out the power to like all of New York City or something.
I know, I've heard stories like that. I'm like, how?
Yeah, like he did it in his like garage or something. But then in the same like sentence, he'll say he learned about Albert Einstein and then he wants to write the theory of everything. Mm-hmm. And immediately there's like a record screech for me when you say you're going to write an equation, a theory of everything, when we know that dark matter and dark energy represent 95% of the known universe and we have no idea what it is. Like you can't see it. We can't we just know it's there. Like, but in terms of what actually it is, like no one has any clue and anybody that says they do is wrong. So it's like, immediately as a storyteller, I'm like, you're the smartest man on earth, and you're saying you're trying to write a theory of everything, but you don't know what 95% of the universe is. I'm like, there's something wrong there. Like your own like hubris is getting in the way of you saying like, I'm on a fool's errand. This can't be plausible. So once as a storyteller, I use that like element, then I create scenarios to kind of explain away like the holes in their theories and stuff. And you can find crazy story in there. So, and that's actually of the sci-fi stuff. Like that's what I love to explore a lot. So you'll see a lot of that stuff. Like if anyone's out there who actually is like reading the book, like retroactively listening to this or something, when you get out to like the twist, I won't say where it happens or anything, like one of the bigger twists in the book, you're going to be like, that's what I just said is like how I got to that.
Interesting.
Yeah. The tease.
Yeah, the tease.
Let's do some work here.
So you started this like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Say in concept or maybe an
pen
idea.
pen to paper. In 2012, I started writing it.
So you finished what, like your script, your screenplay, however you were going to write it out.
Yep.
And that took you how many years?
So that's a good question.
Because you probably many drafts.
So here's the behind the curtain, and if anybody is curious about actually making like a comic book, or the production costs are enormous. So the original draft of this was like 250 pages, and then my car. This is an insight into why it's called Avalon. I had a Toyota Avalon, and I was living in a woman's house in grad school. She was renting out a room, and at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, something like that, like a woman just crashed into my Toyota Avalon. And the owner of the house is like, someone just crashed into your car. Like, come outside. And I'm like, I literally had only been asleep for like 2 hours. I was a grad student, like whatever. I'm like groggy coming out of bed. And the woman was like, she said she was like slapping her kid in the back seat or something.
That's a good excuse.
Yeah. So she just, like, to her credit,
beating my kid. And I lost control of the wheel.
Yeah. And I crashed into your Toyota Avalon. Yeah. But to her credit, she didn't leave.
That's nice.
And the car was a piece of shit anyway. So I ended up getting, I don't remember the number exactly, but it was like $2,500, $3,000 or something for all the damage. And it was just metal. So I just bent everything back to place. And then I started the art. So I got the first 30 pages.
So you hired an artist?
This is the same artist, but it was like 10 years ago I started the process.
So he's been working with you for 10 years,
the artist? Well, so here's I'll answer this and then get to that in a second. The original draft once I started the process, I was like, this has to be trimmed down. This is going to cost me $1 trillion to make a 250-page book. And like even the most trimmed down version was like 120 pages, which is still a lot to undertake. But here's to answer your question directly. He had some things going on in his life where he couldn't kind of produce pages very quickly, like just life stuff. And then I was leaving grad school and I was completely broke. So like the money that I had put away to make the book, I was like, I just need this to pay rent. So the book went on like a hiatus like in 2016, and I had like 30 or 40 pages done at that point. And I was like incrementally saving with the goal to get back to this, but then the world lockdown.
Yeah, life happened.
That gave me a reason to just save all my money, which is not a lot. I'm pretty much broke, but every like month I would just put away. And before in really short order, I was like, I'm going to finish this book. So that's kind of the full circle to go back to. I reached out to David. I was like, are you in between projects? Like, are you available? I've always wanted continuity in my art. Like I wanted the book to look the same. And that's actually why I originally agreed to work with David. I was like, David, I don't want like every chapter to be a different thing. I want there to be continuity. I want this to look beautiful. Like, I love your stuff. Will you do the whole book? And that was like our handshake agreement. I guess actually technically we had a contract, but at the end of it just kind of became a handshake thing. So we circle back to like 2021, 2020, somewhere in there when we started back up. And it was just like a page every like 2 or 3 weeks that would come in, and 4 years later we're now here and we're done. So
how much did it cost you to get it all produced?
I'd rather not give an exact number, but let's just say if you're anytime you go to your LCS and you open a comic book, you're looking at hundreds of dollars a page. Like you're not looking at anything less than that. Like
the art, inker, letterer, colorist, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So,
and if you write it yourself, okay, you don't have to pay a writer, but yeah.
Exactly. Like, I mean, if you wanted to, like, I charge myself. I'll say I'm worth $100 an hour. Yeah, it's like then the book's cost is astronomical, but Yeah, it was obviously the sweat equity on my end is not even calculated into
Yeah.
it. But if you're checking out the Kickstarter or something like that, and you're looking at the number and like, why is he asking for so much? Which it's only like $6,700, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't even like I'm anyone trying to produce a graphic novel.
Yeah, but Kickstarter isn't really like you're asking for money. It's like you're getting something in return. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal of it is actually just to get the book to people.
Yeah.
So like it's literally just covering the printing cost.
Yeah.
So that's
what the printing cost is like how many you plan on printing?
So you're in a weird kind of like quandary at this printing number, because what ends up happening is if you only print like 50, 120 page books, you end up paying like $17, $20 a book.
I know.
And it's like, oh, like someone's like, why are you charging me $30? And it's like, the book costs that much to print. Like it's not even, it's you're in a tough spot. Like you can't compete with Marvel or DC when they're
because they have their own printing thing, and they have deals, and they do so much. Like it was when I was making T-shirts for my band, I was like charging like $25, and it was like, oh, that's kind of high. I'm like, it cost me $21 to make this.
Yeah, exactly.
To make it, $21. So it's like, imagine all the ones I don't sell. You know, I'm not making money on this.
So like if you're in the creative space and you actually want to create something physical, like the printing numbers come down at thresholds. Yeah. So it's like if you can get to like 300 books, then the number comes down to $12. Or if you can get to 400 books, then it comes down to 10.
But then it's like if you don't sell it, then you're stuck with all these.
You have a gargantuan, monstrous 150-pound paperweight of books. But my hope is that I can sell those moving forward. I already have about, I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere between 150 and 200 books sold. So like we're in the threshold of like getting kind of the printing discounts, but like I'll be very fortunate if I can get the book printed for like under $10 a book, if you want like actual hard numbers on it.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, for anybody out there, again, it's like, then you need a mailer, then you need the shipping, which is another, shipping just keeps going up.
Yeah.
And it's like best case, you're shipping it as $10, like best case. And that's like me to like Orange County. Like
that's what people don't realize, like how much it costs to like do these things. And that's why a lot of people, similar to music, they would get a label to fund all this, or you get a publisher. But then if you get a publisher, if you know they want you, they take so much from you. And it's these 360 deals. It's not like, oh, we'll split 50-50 on the book. It's like, no. They own the rights to your characters, they own the rights to all this, you know, all this kind of stuff. So there's like a give and take. Like these publishers can come in and they can, you know, make it easy on you to financially.
Right.
But if it does ever blow up or anything like that, then they get the lion's share of the money. And on top of the fact that, you know, sometimes they could shelve the book. They could. So
you're beholden to them at that point.
You're beholden to them.
You 100%. So here's the interesting, even in the music industry, this is like the quandary where it's like the record executives, they're this, they're that, they do this, they do that. It's like, they're also the gatekeepers to the wider audience. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes, like if you got a Boom or Image or whatever, you can make the opposite argument. Like my book is probably going to be exposed to a very, very limited amount of people because I don't have a big social media presence. Like, thank God there's awesome people like yourself who are so generous with your time and let me come on.
Well, dude, I love doing this. I get to learn so much and you know, talking to people. So like it's a benefit to me.
Yeah.
I'm being selfish here.
Yeah. So like, well, thank you so much for having me on. But like the eyeballs on this book will probably be a fraction of what it would have been if it was like an Image book or something like that. I mean, and there's just no way to really be, you can't fudge those numbers unless I was like a social media influencer or something. And I'm like, hey, like, and there's examples of that in this space, by the way. There's the ISOM person.
Young Ripa. Eric July.
Yeah, so I don't know a ton about it, but I don't.
I think his book sold like $3 million worth.
So yeah, I think it was a Kickstarter that made like 3 point something. Like
it was a. I mean, his books haven't sold nearly as much since then. It was like that perfect time in like the comic book boom, which was like during when anything was selling ridiculous amounts. And he came out and he also created his own site similar to Kickstarter, so he doesn't have to pay. What's Kickstarter, 10, 15%?
So it's probably 10 is what they're taking off the top. So whatever you see on the goal, like on the back side of it, this is my first campaign, so I can't give you the exact number. Mm-hmm. But like when you're filling out the stuff, they just flat out take 5%, and then there's like fees that are between 3 and 5%. In California, it's going to be the 5. Like I already know that, so
it's like 10%.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, what we're I've talked to a lot of different creators, such as yourself and stuff like that, and what I want to build probably in the next 6 months or 9 months on our website. We sell comic books and stuff like that. I want to build space for a comic creator such as yourself it will be a Kickstarter like.
Yeah.
But you won't have to pay any fees. It'll be free. So the bare minimum, at least I can save these creators money.
Yeah.
And you're bringing in all the people anyways to Kickstarter. It's not like Kickstarter is like, here's all these comic book enthusiasts.
Well, first off, the comic book community as an indie creator would absolutely thank you if you even consider doing that. So I have my own website, but it doesn't get any traffic. The Kickstarter has changed a lot in the past, 15 years of its existence. It really, it is the best intentions of the website. It's awesome. It's like, we're going to give you the exposure you need to get your projects off the ground. But nowadays, it's like big, huge entities that should just have the funds to create something. Just go to Kickstarter so they don't even have to expose themselves to any risk of finding venture capital or anything. It's like, hey, I'm so-and-so that has a huge reputation and I have made all these movies and all these comic books. Like, let me do a Kickstarter and raise like $500,000 and more power to you. Like I'm not saying this in kind of like a slight way or anything like that, but it's harder for
the guy from Scrubs used Kickstarter, who's made multiple Garden State. I forget his name. His name's JD in Scrubs. Whatever his name is. He used Kickstarter to make a movie. He's like, we need to show these investors that we can raise at least like $2 million and we can unlock. And I'm like, what, dude? Just put up your own money.
So if you want to look behind the curtain, like of the magician, if you unpack what they just said, it was like, I could go to a VC who's gonna get like first in, first out, and huge equity on the back end of it, or I can say, let's prove that we don't, like, that's the fun way to say it, that it's all me that gets the ownership. And I'm going to go get that money instead of going to a venture capitalist. I'm going to go straight to my consumer base. And they're going to front money on Kickstarter that has it's just free and clear for us to use. I mean, it's business wise, it's a smart thing to do if you can pull it off. And when you get, the $500,000 to do your documentary or something, like that money just comes into your account and you're not beholden to anybody. So, but on the flip side, like indie creators like myself, like we have a much harder time getting traction on those sites because we're getting crushed by the
algorithm. You're getting pushed away. And that's why, I talked to, Swaggle House. I don't know if you're familiar with his YouTube channel, Mickey. Anyways, he created a comic book, and I've talked his ear off about all the ins and outs. And I was like, well, how many? Like, I would imagine if you went to a site and they're taking 10%, they're offering you something other than just a simple payment processing, thing. I thought they would bring in customers for you. It's like he has a YouTube channel, so maybe like 90% is his and 10% come from just random Kickstarters. And he's like, no, it's like a couple people maybe. And I'm like, that's it? I'm like, and you're paying 10%? So if you raise, I don't know, say you raise the $10,000, you're paying them $1,000 for maybe 1 or 2 customers. And I was like, that's insane. And then I was like, I could just build something like that. And then, because I already have a payment processing on my website. And I can just comic creators just use it for free. Like, just it's a way, like, I always think in terms, like, if I ever made it, like, my greatest joy would be to give back, like, say in music, would be to give back to other musicians. So it's like, if I ever made it, I would 100% take like some no-name band on tour with me. Like, just because it's just like...
Well, it's like an opening act in a stand-up comedian or something. It's like, we'll pay it forward by bringing somebody that's...
Exactly. It's no skin off me. It's like, okay, it'll cost me like maybe a couple $1,000s to have my developer just move some things around, But in the end, it's just, if I can help people, reach the audience, and if, and it's free, so they don't have to, because you're already paying a ton of money anyways. It's like, oh, great, you raised, what you were trying to raise, $6,700. So now you're going to lose close to $700 of that.
So that's how they do a little calculator. So it's like, how much do you actually want? And I was like, the printing cost would be probably $6,000. And they're like, your goal is $6,700. So that's, if anybody, that's how you get to the number. So it's like the backwards. You put in the number that you ask, and then their little the Kickstarter algorithm will tell you what number you need. Based on like how much they're going to take. But I mean, again, there's other platforms too, like Indiegogo and stuff like that.
But they still take a percentage.
They take a percentage. I mean, and they have to pay their employees.
I get that.
So I can't just completely,
But I would hope that you would get something in return other than just a payment processing website, which you can use as Stripe.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think again, just because I like kind of looking at perspectives and both sides of things, like they're promoting the big name people that are getting them like $1 million because they're getting 10% of the $1 million.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like when I come through and my project's like $6,000, they're not going to put it on their homepage when like Alex Ross is doing a documentary that's going to get them $500,000.
Yeah,
that's going to be front and center.
That's where they're really going for.
That's also like in terms of their like fiduciary responsibility to their
they're a business.
They're a business. It's like, okay, we're going to go that we're sorry, John. Like, and it's like I understand. Like, at least if I'm being honest with myself, I understand. Like,
they're a business. They're trying to make money, and that's they prioritize their big clients.
Yeah.
And that's just an unfortunate thing of.
That's what Kickstarter's evolved to. Yeah. But I mean, I'm appreciative of the website. So.
Yeah. So, okay. So where can they find you on Kickstarter?
So if you just go to Kickstarter, you can search.
I'll put a link in the description.
Thank you. Yeah. EARIC. So EARIC.
Okay.
EARIC. Oh, I should do it this way for the camera.
EARIC.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone says it wrong, but it's that's how the little cheat. So if you just type in EARIC in Kickstarter, it's
EARIC with a C.
Yeah.
So EARIC.
Yeah. So just think Eric with an A in there, like a wedged in there A. So it's the only project no one's ever used that name ever. So it'll be the first thing or you can search my name, which is Jonathan Medici. And I think that takes you to my profile and you'll see the one campaign that I have, this is my first campaign. So.
Okay. And so this is the first book that you've ever created. You're finally done after 10 years. And it's all done. Like there's
completely done. Like there on the counter. I should have brought it over here and put it right here so I could show everybody, but yeah, so it's the on the bottom. Oh, the A covers. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. No worries. There's something in here that we'll keep off to the side. But so the actual book this is a test printing of the entire book.
I'll put I'll put some pictures and stuff like
that. And then here are so it's obviously a white cover, but here's the A and B cover test printings. So Ivan Tao on the cover.
So that's the full graphic novel, and these are what the issues.
So I like
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I like this art.
So that's the B cover and that's the A cover, both Ivan Tao. I like to do test prints so I can see because I'm new to this, so I don't want to order 500 books and they all look stupid and I made a lot of mistakes early on. So you were talking about lettering. Like my budget is so limited, I lettered the whole book. So originally I
typed out, right?
No. I did it with Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
And you do it all digitally, but
you digitally wrote out
everything. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's layers. So if anybody is curious about lettering, I'm actually okay at it now, I would hope. I mean, someone's going to read this now and be like, you suck.
They start at the beginning and I can't see this going on as the pages go on. It gets better and better.
So maybe I outed myself, but I should have just like put some fictional name on there. It's like, Bill is the worst letterer ever. It's like, that guy sucks, but it was actually me. So it's layers in an Adobe Illustrator file. So you make like the bubble, then you write on top of the bubble. Then you, the writing is actually on the top layer, the most layer, but you do like 2 bubbles on top of each other, and sandwiched in between that is the tail, and then that's how it looks like one like piece. And you just go through the whole book and you write everything out, and you.
Oh man.
Yeah, it takes forever. So here's the.
I always think about the jobs like working on a comic. It's like, I wish I was an artist, but I'm terrible, And so it's like, I could probably write. That's what I'm working on, is writing it my own. But then I was like, of all the things to do, who aspires to be a letterer? I'm not trying to offend any letterers out there. But I'm just trying to think who, that would be the worst of all the things that you could do on a comic book.
So here's the thing on that.
It's like, did you see how I did that T?
So it is a real art form, actually. Like
it is.
And they have insane amount of skill. Like they're very good. Like when somebody letters a book really well, it just moves your eye through the page perfectly.
I guess that's true.
And it's like when it's done poorly, you don't notice when it's done like well, because it seems like it's organic to the book.
Yeah.
But when it's done poorly, it sticks. Knows. It's like, man, like who said that? Like where did that come from? Like the tail doesn't line up to the person's mouth. Like there's so many things you can do poorly, and being stylized and like changing colors on like characters' dialogue and stuff,
or like making certain words bigger, or
totally capping stuff.
Like there's definitely an art form to it, but. I was just like, I always thinking like, do you aspire to be a letterer, or are you an artist that can also letter? That's what I want to know.
Probably both. I mean, potentially both. I don't know, that you'd have to ask somebody in that space. But for me, it was the expense of every page was off the charts. And then so to get a book lettered, you're looking at probably $20 a page and up. So if you're going through, like for me, for example, where I was kind of editing as I was going because I was new to the process, like to have it then relettered again and then relettered again, it's like, oh man, like I am so upside down financially in this book. So.
It's kind of interesting. So like me as a musician, to save money, yes, I will sometimes produce all the music myself.
Yeah.
And it takes forever. So
yeah,
I'll
exactly.
do all the drums, I'll do the guitars, everything like that. And sometimes, but to outsource it, at least at this stage in my career in music, is not so much a financial thing. It's more of a perspective, having a different, oh, I'm going to have a drummer drum on this.
Yeah.
And I have a drummer. Ooh, I kind of like how you did that because you're better at drummers than me.
Yeah.
And so it's very different,
Totally.
know. So it's very, working on, your own stuff. But like with comics, I think it's like different because it's hard to do everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I've done everything but the art. Yeah.
Yeah. It's way more of a bigger undertaking than music, I think. So it's very interesting. Like the art just takes so long, and then you have to ink it all, then you have to color it all.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, and I'll say this about the advantages of lettering your book yourself. You can edit it as you go. So like if a panel doesn't flow correctly, or like you think of a new line of dialogue that is cooler or works better or has more depth to it, which podcast the other day, they flashed the first line of the book and they asked me about it. That wasn't the original line of the book, first line of the book. And it was because I got to the end of the book and I was like, I'm not doing enough with the first page here. Like there's way more work that can be done. So I rewrote it and then I could do it in real time. So there's an advantage to it, but the like moving forward, I would, if I have the financial ability to do so, I'd hire a letterer.
Yeah. My goal with my comic that I'm trying to work on is if I could just break even.
Yeah.
If I could just break even, because the way I look at it is it's like with my music. I've never really, maybe this album I broke even, but most of my albums I do not break even close to even.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I just break even, then it's like an infinite money glitch, because then I can just create more stuff, which I want to do. I just want to create. And it doesn't cost me anything because I have to front the money in the beginning,
right?
But then I'll get it all back, and then I can put it on the next project, and then get it all back. So I was like,
it's just a cash flow.
Yeah,
at that point, you can
and so it's like it's not actually losing me money,
and
which is perfect. Like I don't plan on making money, so I was like, if I could just break even on this comic book, that's all I want to do is break even.
Yeah.
Then I could just do millions of comic books.
Yeah, that honestly, that's like in terms of like a 5-year goal for me. That's exactly what you just described.
Yeah,
but I'm not close, like to being able to do another book like at this point. So the break-even point is
well, like I said, on my
horizon.
albums, every album is interesting. Every album has cost me less than the previous album before because number one, I'm getting better at it.
Yeah,
and so I can do more things myself.
Yeah,
and I'm getting quicker at it. So when I do hire people and stuff like that, it doesn't take as long as time. And then every album does better in terms of streaming numbers and all that kind of stuff than before. So I'm making more money that way, getting more sync licensings, all that kind of stuff. So I'm getting to the point where every album costs me less and my revenue slowly creeps up. And so that we're getting to this point where I'm like, almost breaking even.
Yeah.
So but it's taken me, 20 something years.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of Alan Watts. He's like a old school philosopher.
Mm-mm.
But he passed away in like the 70s, I think. But there's the old recordings of his like lectures and stuff, and he talks about money and life and like basically, I don't know, the pursuit of happiness. But he says find what you love. I'm paraphrasing, and continue to work and iterate at it, and eventually someone will pay you for it when you become a master at it. So it's like you're in that phase, and there'll be a threshold and a nexus point where all of a sudden it's profitable, and you'll have the freedom to do even more and create stuff. So it sounds like you're actually right there, to be honest.
Getting close.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like my next album could just be a dud. Just like does the reverse.
Come on, no. We're positive thinkers here. It's gonna be awesome.
Let's leave it there.
Cool.
That was great. It was great talking to you again. where can everyone find you? Do you have like any sort of Instagram?
Instagram is Jonathan Medici, Medici, and then the number 7. And that's the easiest way to get to everything. And then on my Instagram, you can get to the Kickstarter and go through that. Yeah, I don't have a great social media presence, and I'll work on that moving
that's
forward.
definitely key. If you want to be a creator these days, it's like you got to have like a big social media presence.
I'm relying on the awesome comic book community, to be honest, and to close out, like, everybody has been incredible.
Yeah, I could probably I could probably link you up with a couple others more local to you up in LA.
That'd be nice to
I'm trying to think of a couple and see if they're open to having you on or anything.
That'd be huge.
It's the thing that sucks with today is it's a give or take. I was just having this conversation last night. It's so easy to get your stuff to people, but yet it's so hard, because before, if you went in terms of music or even just comic books, this was the 80s or even 90s or whatever. Before, you as a creator, your whole job was to create,
right,
and then other people were the ones that found it. Now, since you can push it out yourself, not only are you the creator, but you're also the marketer. And trying to get it in the hands of people. And it almost gets to this point where your craft that you love, music, comic books, whatever, is secondary.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, 10% on the product itself.
Right.
And then 90% I'm trying to get it out to people.
Well, in real time, what you just described is why you're seeing, like, social media influencers then doing their passion projects. And, like, because they did all the legwork to build out an audience, and now they'll flip it around, and, like, because they have exposure to 3 or 4 million people, I'll do a comic book and it'll sell a ton of copies. You see that there's a lot of people in that YouTube space specifically that are doing that. You're like, they're reviewing movies, and then they're all like, by the way, check out my comic book that's coming out in a week. I'm like, when were you ever a writer? But kudos to them. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about, like, awesome, do it. But they did it. You make the argument that's like the right kind of way to do it nowadays. So
I had a question, a writing question.
Sure.
Are you good at writing dialogue?
Perspective, right? Like blinders, like a horse. Like I would say,
is that your like, what's your strong suit in when you're writing a script or a screenplay or whatever? What's your like?
How would I answer that as like a professor?
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that I'm a great fixer, and like, and students would say that I'm a structure guy. So they would say, like, they give me any idea that they have, and I can iterate on it immediately, or I'll read it and, like, I'll sink into their head, and I'll know exactly how to fix it. I'll be like, this is where we're deficient. This is what this is where, like, the story we need more character. We need more culminations on sequences. We need more dynamic movement. We need more story depth. Like, I can kind of delve into that. So even my aspirations, like, if I were to be like a screenwriter, which I'm going full steam with writing graphic novels, I would love to be a fixer in Hollywood. Like I can tell you.
Where they always say they punched up the script, they gave it to some other person, they punched it up. I don't know what that means.
So, like, here's some examples. Like, I don't want to go too long, but like I can tell you how to, like, I can tell you the psychology of why Fantastic Four. Everyone said, like, it was good, right? But I don't know anybody that gave it like a 10 out of 10.
That's true. I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly why. Or like The Flash. Like, I actually did a breakdown on The Flash where I was like, there was actually deficiencies in the.
I'll tell you here. You want to know how you're going to sell your book?
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly how. You created a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You created a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You go on and you talk about you from a professor, screenwriter point of view, and you break down all these comic book movies.
Yeah.
You break them down. You have, watch some other people, how they break them down and all this kind of stuff. You maybe hire an editor to make it look a little flashy or something like that.
Yeah.
And literally, I guarantee you do enough of those videos. I mean, there's so many superhero videos you can do, and you can break down everything. There's lots of people that break it down from a technical level.
Yep.
Like a CGI artist, they break it down like, oh, this is why this CGI works. This is blah, 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 blah. And you break it down all technical levels, showing clips of what you're talking about. You can make them like, in depth, like maybe 15 to 30 minutes long, maybe you make them hour long, whatever it is. And you do that, you will build up an audience, and then you'll be able to sell the book. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so I 100% you're right, and I've already, like, actually kind of wrote out a little, like, proof of concept to do this.
And you already write scripts, so you write yourself your own script.
The actual thing is bandwidth. It's like, if I'm a professor, I'm writing graphic novels, like starting a YouTube channel, and like I would have to diverge, in my opinion, that would be the commitment that I would move, like, for the next 5 or 10 years to do. And for me, it's just I'm not like in love with being on camera or anything like that. It's like actually
You're
something
totally fine.
Yeah, I'm getting better at it and more comfortable with it, but
Just pretend like this little white dot right there is another person. That's
Yeah.
what I do. And so it's weird. Your first couple videos, it seem weird, but it's like, who am I talking to? This is awkward or whatever. But after a while, you start connecting with people on your comments, you actually envision those people that you're talking to like they're in front of you. They're not really, but like, so when I'm talking, I feel like I'm actually talking to them. It's a weird, maybe it takes like 5-10 videos and then like you switch over and you start thinking like that. But honestly, you're totally fine on camera. You'll be totally great. I think that would be a good way to sell your comic book. Get 100%. People, because you want to get people to like you, then they will start getting your comic book.
Well, so. I could do the Fantastic Four real quick if you want to.
Sure. Let's just give it a trial run. Why is it? Because a lot of people I talked to, they liked it. They didn't love it.
Yeah, so I mean, I liked it a lot, to be honest, but I think the reviews I've gotten, it's like a 7 out of 10 is kind of like what everybody says. And like, here's how we absorb, like, this is academic breakdown of the film itself. So in the first sequence of the film is actually pretty long before the Silver Surfer shows up, which is like a kind of our inciting incident, what breaks us into the film, right? Then the end of Act 1 is like, we actually go on this like we're locked in and we have to go find Galactus, right? Mm-hmm. So then what ends up happening is the most dynamic part of that movie, the part that like is engaging and incredible and you're like glued into your seat, is actually the third sequence of the film. So as we're going into the second act, we travel.
What is the third sequence?
So it's when they go up on the ship and they travel at the speed of light and they arrive at the planet. They come out of warp or whatever you want to call it. All the asteroids are hitting and they're like, oh, detach. And they unlink and they go in, and then Shia LaBeouf is like standing there and she's like, I'm taking you to see Galactus. Yeah. And he leans forward and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Like I was like, let's go. And then we literally have like, you are not taking my child. Why was she there to begin with? That was odd. Yeah. Like, why would you send a 6-month, but you need the story, right? Yeah. So we'll excuse that. But then we have this speed of faster than light warp chase where
they're shooting stuff.
They're missing. They're like, the warp angle is like whatever. And like Silver Surfer's right on their heels. They go to a black hole and they're like, we're going to dump her into the black hole, like get her really close and we're going to go like invisible and all this stuff.
I did like that, all that sci-fi stuff.
So Sue is going to turn the whole ship and then she's going to black out. You've pinned out, like in terms of creating rising action in your movie, you've pinned it out already at the third sequence of your film. So 40 minutes in the movie, you ain't doing better than that.
Okay, I see what it says. So they basically like, they peaked when energy.
When a part of your movie outpaces the climax of your movie,
I see.
Like your audience leaving the theater is going to be like, that was good. But they're not going to be like, that was the greatest movie I've ever seen. So we come back to Earth. The story does the right thing, by the way, technically. It sits us down in the B story. We get to know our characters. We catch our breath as an audience.
Yeah.
And then we get Mole Man shows up and he's like, we got to put everybody underground. It's like, it's New York. Why doesn't everyone just leave? But then in the third, like they didn't use that like properly to actually outpace the third sequence of the film. So it's like, what could we have done? Like maybe like the Thing must have had to go underground because when Galactus was walking, it was actually crushing like all of New York City. So he had to go down there and it would be cliche and it would be whatever, like holding up the whole city. Mm-hmm. But he had to do some feats of strength instead of just knocking down the pillars, which is cool. But it's like, cool. It's not that cool. And like in terms of like you want, when you're constructing the third act of any scene in your film, actually, you want to pin out your conflict. You want to dial it up as much as possible. So Sue pushing Galactus back is really cool, but it's like we underutilized our other characters and we could have very easily like made it so nuts. Like what if like, like they had to go get the Silver Surfer out of like the black hole or something like that. And then he had to rescue her and then pull her out. And there's this moment between the two of them because we did kind of build out that romantic kind of flair. And then they come in instead of her just swooping in out of nowhere. It's like that was part of the process. And we tied it back to the third sequence of the film. But the point of that I'm trying to make is that you did an awesome job with the third sequence. It's like go back and watch that movie. You're going to be like, turn it off now because it's too good. Yeah. But psychologically, the way somebody consumes a movie, like you then go into the third act of your movie and it's not as dynamic.
Good. It's not as good.
It's not even a good thing. It's just it's creating rising action. You want to build up towards a climax. Mm-hmm. It's like you climax. We went up to this. We dipped down and then we didn't get back there. Yeah. So if the writers themselves could have potentially, pinned out use the Thing more, like put them down. You put them underground for some reason, like when everyone could just take the subway and get out of New York, like that's what would be more logical. It's like, okay, so you created a scenario that you didn't actually utilize to create the maximum conflict for the scene itself.
That's true. I did say the biggest flaw was, in my opinion, was there was no cool scene with all 4 of them really showcasing their powers. I mean, the Thing running through some
here's the example, right? So when Sue's pushing Galactus back, if he's so heavy that like New York City's collapsing on the people underneath, and the Thing has to bolster it up and push it up,
that would be cool.
So the ground actually bows under Galactus's feet, and that's the catalyst for him to flip over as Sue like kills herself by exerting all of her.
So basically, if Sue's dialed up to 11,
yeah,
the other characters need to be dialed up to 11. Maybe like the Thing is almost dying because he's getting crushed, but he's trying to hold up everything.
Could be, yeah. I mean, it's just like using everybody's, like maximizing the conflict in the scene and using everybody to the best of their ability. It's like, okay, literally in real time, we just thought of a great idea. It's like, okay, we can put Thing underground. Galactus is so heavy, New York is collapsing.
On all the people, which
is going to kill them. Like Sue is not quite strong enough to push him back. So Thing, in the last desperate attempt of strength, he musters just enough energy. He's standing under the ground, under Galactus, to push the ground up just a little bit.
Yeah.
It bows the ground, and that's what makes Galactus trip into the portal, I guess.
Yeah.
Not black hole. And then now all of our those 2 characters are being utilized correctly. And then we have the Human Torch like go off and actually grab like Shia LaBeouf out of the black hole.
You know, I just think it would have been interesting. You take Mr. Fantastic. What did he do? He got stretched, and but I was like, if he would have wrapped himself around, like, say, Galactus's chest or something like that, and taken his other half and thrown it into the portal, so the portal is pulling him back and pulling Galactus at the same time, and have some, I don't know how he'd get out of it, but that was like, because now he's fighting against basically the gravity of the portal in reverse. I just felt like that last scene could have been, there needed to be more.
So that's exactly like the psychology of like how that film could have been a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Like if they would have done some of the things like, and this goes back to me like wanting to be like a fixer in Hollywood. Like if I got that script, I would have said that immediately upon reading it. So in
Hollywood, why did no one else see that?
There's probably a bunch of reasons. So it's never fair to just directly point the finger at the screenwriter, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes with producers, like and
it could change along the way.
It changes. So that's what happened with Flash. So, but you don't know when you have a studio head that's saying do this or do that, like you're handcuffed as the writer. Mm-hmm. And it's also, I mean, some might say one argument is like budget constraints. That movie didn't have any budget constraints. Yeah. So they should have been able to do something like this. But to be perfectly honest, a lot of screenwriters nowadays, like particular people that are getting work, I should say, like could go to like a classroom and learn some stuff, like to kind of just remember like the fundamentals of screenwriting versus like, I'm going to do this. Oh, this looks great. It's like, are you taking a critical eye to this? Like, do you know all there's a lot like behind the scenes of it. It's just, you don't sit down and write a movie. There's like a lot of things you need to know. Like there's like I have an MFA, I have a master's in fine arts, like a terminal degree in screenwriting. There's the psychology of how it's consumed. Like, are you building towards culminations? Are you building, like, how are you constructing your film correctly? And that movie, again, like, I really enjoyed it. I'm not trying to knock it. Like, I'm saying, I left the theater and I was happy, and I actually saw it twice. So it's like, I went back and saw it again. I love going to the movie theater. Same thing for Superman. Like, I loved the movie and I went and saw it twice, but it wasn't like, I didn't leave it and send a text to my friend saying like, you got to go see this movie right now. So with
Superman, I had the same consensus of I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I felt, in my opinion, the reason why I didn't love it is sometimes I like to, well, not sometimes, I do. I like to feel my movies. Yeah. So I like that impactful moment. Yeah. And with Superman, there was no that like just tugged on your heartstring moments. Like whenever they might throw a joke out there or be too quick or something like that, and you don't feel, and I want to feel like something.
I'll tie it back to this, but real quickly, or my graphic novel. But early in my writing career, when I knew I kind of had something, was I sent 2 scripts out to a small production company in Santa Monica. There was a script that we were working on, and this was like in the development process, and they were like, I write animated features. So I was working with them on that, and they wanted to see this new animated feature that I'd written on spec. So I sent it to them, and the next meeting came up, and we were talking about the project that we were working on, and then they read the animated feature, and this is the moment I wanted to get to. He's like, in the third act of the film, I started crying. And I was like, that's when you know you're actually written a screenplay correctly, when there's a moment when inevitably you can't help but feel so much for the characters that it like moves you emotionally.
Yeah.
And sometimes not every movie has that, but even from grassroots outlining a movie, you should look and say like, where in this movie do you care so much about these characters that you're emotionally tied to them? And the situation is so intense, if they fail at it or if there's a loss, they're gonna break down.
Yeah, and I like that. You know, that just shows that you have 2 hours, hour and a half to basically say, here's my character.
Yep.
You're going to fall in love with this character so much that when I put this character through whatever turmoil, that you're going to feel that.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is hard to do.
Yeah.
And everything has to be running on all cylinders. But when done, it's great.
I mean, look back at the movies that influenced my progression of like a hero's journey. It's like, and Braveheart, I was like 8 years old or something, and like
double VHS.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we had a black box back then, so that was like that was where you could get free cable, and I watched Braveheart like 500 times. But like when William Wallace is getting like drawn and quartered, and like they're like this in the crowd, and he says like mercy, mercy, like give up, and he yells out freedom. I'm like getting emotional right now. Like I was like 8 years old. I remember my mom, she was like, it's okay to cry, and I was like, holy smokes. Or like to go like what 8 years later or 10 years later, like with Gladiator, when Maximus like falls and they walk out and they're like, who will carry this man? I'm like, damn, like that.
Yeah, you get those lines. A movie that really got to me, and I tell this all the time, Wild Robot. Have you seen it?
Dude, that should have won Best Animated Movie last year.
It should have.
No disrespect to Flow. Flow is great.
I did watch Flow. Flow is a very different type of movie, but
it's the execution of that movie is phenomenal, and it's great for what it is. Wild Robot, I came home and told my friends, I was like, this is the movie, this is the animated movie. So here's the tie back to Fantastic Four. I didn't leave Fantastic Four and say like, this is the greatest movie of the year. I loved it. But it's like, I left Wild Robot, and this is the best animated movie
I literally came straight on my show, and I was like, you have to watch this. It's the best animated movie all year. And even to this day, I'm like, there's nothing that has moved me more. And I could easily say that it's the best animated movie I've ever seen.
Ooh,
it is so...
That's a big statement.
It is so good. I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, this is like my jam. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, we're going to the theater.
Yeah.
And there's some other adults, but mostly kids and stuff like that. And I watched it and I was like, man, this was an experience.
Yeah.
And it is through and through so good. Like, it just tugs at your heart. It does everything. The music's perfect. There's nothing I would change in that movie.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
The brilliance of those movies, like, and it's kind of like almost reminiscent of, it's not a Pixar movie, it's DreamWorks, but they actually write those for adults, and then they like introduce all this stuff that like
should.
Yeah, and that's why at the end of that movie, like, anybody that hasn't seen that's a parent or even just an adult, go watch Wild Robot. Yeah. There's no way at the end of it you're not like.
Yeah, exactly. It is so good.
There's no way you're not choked up, or you just don't have a soul. Yeah. Like, there's no way. It's that good.
Every person I've ever met, I like hype it up so much, and then every single person watches it. It's like, yeah, it's really good.
I told a buddy that he's a YouTube a guy. I was texting him after the movie like came out, and I texted him. I was like, take your kids to see Wild Robot. He didn't go see it in the theater. He didn't see it in the theater, and then like whatever, like 2 months later, whatever, it was on streaming. And he's like, yeah, I watched the Wild Robot. I was like, what do you think? He's like, it was pretty good.
Yeah. It was so good.
He was like, he couldn't even like get the words out. I was like, it's such a good movie. It's such a good movie. But yeah, you see that like I mean, you saw that like WALL-E, and there's
WALL-E. I mean, I liked WALL-E a lot too. You know, you feel for the character. The best thing that always like I think about is the joke where everyone's super fat on their little like chairs and no one can walk, and I'm like, that's where we're going. It's a very humorous and probably accurate depiction of the future. But yeah, I liked WALL-E.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of that movie, when he goes down and you're kind of wondering if he's coming back, that'll get you too. There's
which is so weird because we all know he's gonna live.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we all know this.
So to tie it back to one of the I have some animated scripts that have gone places in Hollywood and stuff. And this was the first draft of a script that has kind of been in a lot of spots. But you think that someone, I don't even want to say it because I have plans for this project, but you think someone passes away, and then like 3 pages later they come back, and literally multiple animation studios like that you would know. They were like, you have to do this in half a page because everyone will be so upset that he's actually dead. Like the little kids in the theater, it's like, you got to bring him back faster. So literally in the script, we had to like remove the 3 pages just so we got back to like, he's not gone.
So when a character dies,
Yeah.
say like Wally or whatever character, and you know in the back of your mind they're going to come back to life.
Yeah.
Is it almost like the payoff for, like, you almost have to bring them back? Like, say they're the main character, you almost have to, unless they're almost like a role like, I mean, even Uncle Ben, he was Ben Kenobi, he was brought back, but like it's almost like you can't have certain characters remain dead.
So here's the question, as you would ask the writer, or I would ask the writer. It's like, how do you want your audience to leave the theater? Like, if you want them to be sad, you can leave the person dead.
But what is actually the better payoff?
It's dependent on the film. Like, I don't know that there's you can definitively say. I mean, Maximus dies in Gladiator and he's done. Like, William Wallace dies in Braveheart and he's done.
Those are R-rated movies.
Those are they're not animated, right?
Yeah.
So like, not apples to apples, but like it would be dependent. I would say kids movie,
you have to bring them back.
You have to, because you don't want the kids crying in the car and the parents will just be pissed off.
Well, Bambi dies. Bambi's mom.
But that's at the beginning. So Disney will kill characters, but it'll always be at the beginning.
Or the wife dies.
That's at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so that's the first sequence of that film. And holy cow, you don't have a soul if you're not like.
That's a very Bambi moment.
That's exactly what Bambi is. It's the exact same thing. So they're gonna wipe out a parent in the first 15 minutes of a movie, like basically every time.
Is it always the woman that gets wiped out? I'm like trying to go back through like early deaths.
No, what's Big Hero 6 is his brother, right?
His brother gets wiped out.
Yeah, his brother gets wiped out at the beginning, but that's how these are constructed. Because so when you're in the what's called the normal world or the routine of a character, you want to get them invested in a relationship, in a family, like in a familial situation as quickly as possible. And then if you smoke the person that you've set up, like in that short period of time, your audience is probably locked in with them and they're engaged the rest of the way.
It's kind of funny how death is the crux of good storytelling. Batman.
Well, it's conflict, right? So if you pin out the conflict,
Batman, Spider-Man, like they all start with death.
Yeah.
Like their whole existence is because of death. I mean, even the Joker is death because his wife got killed. He was like a comedian, and then he went off the deep end. So it's almost like, and some people don't even have experience with death, or at least someone close to. But it's almost like it's just a weird thing where it's like, I'm gonna hook you. All right, you see this character over here, dead.
Yeah, I mean, John Wick. We're gonna smoke a dog, and literally,
and then every person's like, yeah, he should kill the whole world because of that.
I mean, John Wick is a serial killer, and we root for him, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
because he's justified.
He's justified. You kill his dog, and that's exactly 12 minutes into the movie. Like, and he only literally just got the puppy, but it's like you can't do that. Like now we're on board. So.
It's crazy that it's never been done before, but like you do that, and it's like kill the whole town, burn it to the ground. Yes, all justified.
Dude, I mean, and there's literally every example, and it's usually at the end of the first sequence of a film or the end of the second. So Maximus Decimus Meridius in Gladiator, he goes home and his wife and his child are burned to death.
Yeah,
and
after doing all this great stuff.
Like being a hero, right? Yeah. William Wallace, his dad his wife died. His dad dies first. So his dad is stabbed in the heart, and he stands there, and his uncle comes and he goes, did you speak Latin? He goes, or did they give a poetic benediction? I think is what he says. And he goes, it was in Latin. He goes, we'll have to remedy that. I don't speak Latin. So his dad is stabbed in the heart, and then he leaves, and then they do it again. So in that movie, he comes back and he falls in love in the next sequence. Yeah. And then they smoke his wife, and you're like, this guy can kill everybody. Yeah. Like you're good to go. Like break out that big long sword. You're going
similar. Patriot. His son gets killed.
Yep,
he was doing the duty or something like that, and I'm trying to remember.
I haven't seen Patriot in so long.
His son wants to
it's like a 3.5
join,
and
then he gets killed, or something, and then that's when he's like, as Heath Ledger, I think.
The full,
I'm trying to remember.
Back to Joker, full circle. I like it. But that's how you construct a character. Like that's how you get an audience hooked and stuff. And those are the things that like some of the screenwriters. I don't want to. I want to pin it directly on screenwriters, but some of them just don't have a ton of experience right now, and we're getting like a lot of,
So is it almost like
newer
some of
writers
these
and
people,
stuff.
these newer writers that may not have experience, and they get these like bigger roles of writing for certain, let's say Marvel projects, something like that.
Yeah.
They don't have the experience, and somehow they're just pushed to the front line, maybe someone they know or something like that. Or maybe the studios think, oh, I could easily just manipulate this writer to write what I want him to write.
It's probably a little bit of both of those things, and kind of some like hubris in the idea that like anybody can do the job. Like, and I actually believe that with enough time under tension, like anybody can accomplish, like be good at anything. But like, it's not arbitrary that like you can write a good screenplay like today. Like if you came to my classes and you grinded and you worked for a really long time, and like David Lindelof, you wrote 10 screenplays to realize you couldn't write a good one. But you see, I don't want to like point any fingers because I am a screenwriter, but some of the, like, they don't even have like really great writing samples. And you're like, wait, how did you get, like, how did this happen when I can show you all these things and the opportunities aren't there? So
yeah, a lot of times I'll see these directors that direct like big budget, like Marvel films, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nowhere in your history of filmography does it look like you could handle a big budget, like $200 million massive ensemble movie just because you wrote some indie project that was like won an award, but the general audience does not like.
Yeah. so
like, what? Why are you a director?
You're kind of getting to the examples of like how we get to the situation we're in. Like people with a lot of history and working on big budget things and knowing all the right things that need to happen in these movies versus somebody that kind of does I like these movies too, but if you're doing something more like in the, just a straight drama kind of like indie space where it's like a couple arguing and stuff, I enjoy those movies. I go and watch them and I love that stuff, but it's not always immediate success if you go from that to like trying to execute like a tentpole franchise kind of
like
thing.
An Avengers. It's like, oh, I did this, like you're saying, a couple fighting, and it's just one room, and they're having
if
some
you look
good
back,
dialogue. Now it's like the Avengers, like that's way different.
Yeah, if you look back in like phase 1 through 3, you'll see a lot of. First off, it wasn't writer-directors often, at least early on. There was screenwriters behind that. And even there was probably a whole nother set of screenwriters that aren't named, by the way. So they're iterating on this thing a lot to get it to what it needs to be. But then you're not seeing the kind of those people working on all these projects anymore. Or it'll be like one of them and then a new set of team with them. And it's like, how can one person kind of shout over a team of like 5 or 6 writers or producers or something? And this goes back to like, don't point fingers directly at the writer necessarily or any one person. These are ultimately big collaborations. So there's who knows what happened behind the scenes and why things happened the way that they did. True. But we could unpack that for a long, long time. But sometimes like I'll just watch the movies and be like, come to my class for like a week or send me the script. Just literally send me the script before, like Flash would have been. I could have fixed that. That movie would have been a 10 out of 10. And as I was in the theater, I was like, here are the things that would have made this movie the greatest. Like when James Gunn said it was the greatest like superhero movie of all time.
I don't know why all those people were saying that. I'm like, you're getting paid way too much.
Oh, he had to. Yeah. He was obligated to say those things.
That thing, it's like you're hyping something up, and everyone knows it's going to be a massive letdown. Everyone knows. Honestly, I think the biggest mistake was Ezra Miller.
That was something that was when in the age of social media, when your movie star does something ridiculous,
I
you're
just
in
didn't
trouble.
think he was a good Flash. He was in whatever the Justice League movie, and I found him more annoying than charming. And it's like
that's totally fair.
Like the lines he was given, the way his mannerisms, his dialogue, like it's almost like he's trying to be like a Deadpool. But Ryan Reynolds, the words he says and the way he says it is more charming, like in a funny way,
right?
Versus kind of annoying and like shut up.
Like Ryan Reynolds has got it down, and he's the absolute pinnacle, perfect Deadpool. Like perfect casting. The other thing about the MCU, they nailed the casting. Like the casting in phase 1 through 3, like they didn't miss. Maybe you could make the argument for one character. Yeah. But they didn't miss on the casting.
Well, what's crazy is like Chris Hemsworth evolved into a much better Thor than he was in the beginning.
He's like my favorite character in the MCU. So I think he like when I even say the word Thor, I just see Chris Hemsworth in my head. Like I think he is so perfect.
Yeah.
And like I might be in the like slight minority that I really loved Ragnarok. So when like Thor: Love and Thunder was coming out, I was like so stoked for it.
Did you like Love and Thunder?
So I saw it with my pilot buddy, who's Delta pilot, and I was like, "Hey, let's go!" So we went like literally. I picked him up from LAX, and we went and watched it. And leaving the theater, I was like, "All right, I enjoyed it." And then I kind of thought about it more and more, and I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have to sit with a movie. You have your instant reaction, but then as you sit with it, it's like, how much am I thinking about this movie later on? What is my mood when I think about the movie? And then that's how I determine how good a movie is. So like Wild Robot, every time I think about it, it's like, man, that was such a good movie. Right? And in other movies, it's like, oh, I don't even remember what happened. And like,
I think that's the biggest. That's like the biggest insult too. Like when I'm talking to somebody about a film, they'll bring one up and they're like, "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "I don't remember it at all."
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's almost worse than it being like the worst movie you've ever seen.
Yeah, because then you can remember it was terrible. It's like The Room.
Madam Web is
I never watched it. Never watched it. I was like, I'm not even going to subject myself. Like I prefer to be happy.
So that's on the short list of movies that I saw in a theater completely alone. There was nobody else in the theater.
I'm not surprised.
I was like sitting there and I was like, there's no one in the theater. Literally 0 people in the theater. And I was like, that's an indictment.
It was opening day.
No, it wasn't opening day. I think I saw Thor Ragnarok in a theater opening day, like basically in an empty theater, but I went at 10 in the morning. So I like went in and I was like, this is kind of weird. I thought there'd be more people here, but it was 10 in the morning on like a Thursday. So I was like, it was an excusable reason why there was no one there. That was like a weekend like screening. I think at like 8 o'clock on a like Sunday or 7 o'clock, which should have some people in the theater. And I was alone and I was like, this is LA. Like people see movies in LA. This is not like, this was bad. Or that's a bad sign.
All right, man. It was good talking to you. It's probably, I don't know, it's been like probably like 20 hours. Who knows? But thanks again. Again, John, check out his book. Link in the description below. Have a great day.